God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time.
My name is Josh Lassen, and my major is landscape architecture. I am a senior at the University of Minnesota.
You spoke to the
When I think of painting, I think something that has hit me more and more throughout my years of having it as kind of a fun hobby that I do is that there's a lot of parallels to kind of what faith and what trust looks like. This waiting period on the front end, where elements are coming together, colors are being mixed, shapes are taking form, but you don't have the full picture yet. And I think a lot of times that is kind of what it looks like to walk with Jesus. We have a lot of limited context as we're going about our daily lives, and we're seeing specific colors coming together. We're seeing colors being mixed. We're seeing elements being introduced to our lives. We're seeing things taking form. We're seeing layers upon layers of the paint and the elements kind of converging, but we don't know what the final product is going to look like. I think we can anticipate certain ways that God is directing our lives, but when we're wrong, it can be jarring to think, hey, I thought this was going to look like this. And I think a lot of times what trust looks like is trusting that God is bringing the elements together with a plan in mind. I think of God as kind of like an artist, I would say. He's the person behind the scenes. He doesn't make mistakes, and every mark, every color, every shape has a purpose, and at the end of the day is going to come together to make us into the image that He had originally planned for our lives. I think of God as a creator of beauty, someone who creates order and brings elements together in a way that harmonizes them. I think of God as sovereign in that way. And in my life, I think the biggest thing that I've been learning recently is what trust actually looks like. And as a person who's wanting to control the elements myself, someone who's seeing elements come into place and knows how to put elements together to create things, I think sometimes I want to take the paintbrush out of God's hand and I want to make it look the way that I think it should. I think sometimes I want to be the artist of my own life. I think a lot of us can feel the same way. We want our lives to look like the end result that we have in mind going into it, even though that's not always in alignment with what God wants. Trusting when I don't like a color, when I don't like a mark, that there's purpose behind it, and that I have no concept of what the end result is going to be and what Jesus is planning to paint my life as. I think there's a lot of interesting parallels between God as the Father and God as the Creator. Different roles and responsibilities into different areas in terms of what God is in our lives. And when you think of a father figure, I think there is plenty of elements of creation in that. You're creating the space in which your child will grow up. You're creating an environment in which they can be nurtured and shaped into the adult that you know they are capable of being. You're introducing elements into their life that you think will be beneficial for them to learn. You're allowing them to suffer, and even when it's hard, knowing that that's going to grow them and shape them, and in true love allowing them to go through it, not shielding them from the hard, confusing things. I think He created us to be creators in the places where He has put us. He created us to continually create, and the creation that He made, it just keeps going. And it's so cool to see all the different lenses in which He created things, and then the created creates. One of the biggest characteristics of God that I have always really connected with is characteristic of glory. I think for the longest time that word felt distant and foreign to me and didn't feel like something I could wrap my head around. I think even this summer I realized that the characteristic of glory means that He is a God of beauty and a God with like radiating beauty in everything he touches and everything that he is. And I guess I always separated the beautiful things in the world from God. I don't know why. I thought they were existing outside of him, and I thought that I pictured heaven being this stark, white, spaceless place. I pictured God just sitting up there in that, but I think what's been cool to realize is that the very presence of God is beauty in its purest form, and everything beautiful in this earth is just a very small glimpse into what that glory is. We get a taste of it here, but this is not home, this is not the end. This is a broken version of what God is capable of. And I think once I started connecting beauty and well-designed things and all that to God, I think that's a moment when I started feeling closer to God, because these things that I had appreciated, these things that I had been feeling home within, it started to change, and I started to look to God as that home, and I started to look to him as the source of all the beauty instead of separate from it.
Like you would again 100 billion times, but what measure could amount to your desire? You're the